Hello everyone, thanks for stopping by. Today we'll be looking at the high-grade Space Jahannam Klim Nick version from Gundam Reconguista in G. This is a Zaku clone you probably haven't heard of, and to be fair, I hadn't heard of this mobile suit either until I became one of the 10 people that actually watch Reconguista. This is also the first part of a build series I'm doing where I show off kits I find interesting, but don't plan on painting anytime soon. It's a good way to clear out the backlog and allows me to put out content in a timely manner while focusing on more time-intensive projects. While building this kit, I felt like there were two different kinds of plastic used. The blue plastic was hard and brittle, while the purple and gray plastics were softer and more similar to the plastic on newer kits. They felt very IBO-like, if that made sense. There was also a lot of seam lines due to the somewhat complex geometries of the design, making pieces molded into halves. The biggest offenders were the shoulders and forearms. Removing the seams took longer than building the kit itself, and I have more seam removal footage recorded than actual build footage. The torso seems a little flimsy since there are two of the ball polycaps used, and I feel like the hands are gonna snap every time I put them in the wrists. There are lots of ball joints in the design with mobility restricted by the design itself and the placement of these joints in said design. You also get a ball joint in the forearm mounted shield, which makes attaching it a bit fiddly and is just a weird decision. This is also a personal preference, but I really don't like the look of the blue plastic. It reminds me of the really early high-grade Universal Sentry kits where a coat of paint is definitely needed. The beam rifle is also very featureless, and there isn't even a hand with a trigger finger, even though there is a trigger molded on the beam rifle. The kit also cannot shoulder the weapon properly. The kit is built, and here's a quick note on seam removal. I normally don't go this intense with seam removal since I paint a lot of kits I build, but I wanted to try and go a bit further than usual. I mainly use only 400 grit sandpaper, but as you'll see, I went up to 10,000 grit. I only put in the extra care because the final photos will be in the bare plastic. And when you see the finished result, it may not look like I actually did anything, but I'm preparing this kit for painting. If I were to give this kit a coat of primer, there's a very good chance the seam won't be visible, especially after a coat of paint on top. And there are still scratches in the plastic, but I don't have the time to correct something which won't matter in the end. Now, all of this sanding footage may seem redundant, but I really like seeing the transformation on screen. It's cool to see how we go from a very rough surface to something pretty shiny. The 6000 grit is also where I start to even things out by sanding the entire surface of a part and not just the seam. And after the 10,000 grit, here's our result. This kit is a 2015 release, so I feel a bit weird giving a final verdict on this kit. It's 7 years old, and my opinions are probably influenced by newer kits I've built. So, in an attempt to be impartial, I want to compare this to other kits that were released in 2015, which will be limiting to high grades just to help better put this kit into perspective. In high grade Universal Sentry, we got the Revived Gun Cannon and Revived Arc 78-2, as well as the Revived Cubile and Revived Gundam Mark II. We also got some Victory 2 Gundam variants, while the base Victory 2 was a 2014 release. The fantastic Gundam The Origin lineup was released this year, giving us the MSO6S Zaku Commander type, MSO6R1 Zaku High Mobility type, Early Gun Tank, Goof Tactical Demonstrator, and Mobile Worker. High-grade IBO also debuted with the Barbados, Greys, Schwalbe Greys, Greys Kai, Hyakuri, Hyakuren, Hyakuren Amida Custom, Gyujian, Manrodi, and Long Range Transport Container. I have built a few of these kits, and some of them are my all-time favorites, most notably the Origin Zakus, but also the high-grade Greys. But now it's time for my thoughts. Like I said, maybe some of these flaws are due to the design of the Space Jahannam itself, but we got the high-grade IBO line in 2015, and while those kits have their issues, the kind of engineering used on those kits is so much better, and on thinner mobile suits too. I don't want to make massive generalizations, but if this kit is anything like the rest of the high-grade Reconguista line, it seems like this lineup wasn't given to Bandai's A-team. This makes a bit of sense, as we didn't just get new kits, but entirely new lineups from franchises which were much more popular than Reconguista and G. Overall, I think this kit is a bit clunky and feels like one that would have been released a few years earlier. It does look cool though. But I digress. If you like this video, consider liking, commenting, and subscribing. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video, whenever that is.